Hey guys, what I'm going to be working on today is cleaning out the carburetor on this golf cart. Welcome to the bar channel where I'm either building it, assembling it, repairing it, or just replacing it. What I've got here is a 2003 Easy Go golf cart. It's a clay car with 350cc Robins Fuji engine. And what's happening is that the carburetor, when you're driving it, is kind of sluggish. So I believe the carburetor is kind of gummed up. So I'm going to get this all cleaned out. If you're a subscriber, welcome back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell to see things I do on a daily basis. Minor stuff I repair, I fix, or I just end up replacing it if it can't be fixed. Anyway, let's get this project started. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take off the intake air hose, the air manifold, remove that and get it off the carburetor. I'm gonna also pull out the vacuum hose. There's a vacuum hose that's attached, and there's two small vent hose that's attached to that carburetor assembly. I'm gonna remove those. Then I will remove the two nuts that's holding the carburetor assembly to the engine block. Once that's removed, I'm gonna try to pull this carburetor out and disconnect the cables. Now I'm going to separate the cable bracket from the carburetor and proceed with disconnecting the cable. There's a small Phillips screw that's behind the wall plate. I will loosen that screw so that cable can slide right out. There's also a connecting arm that connects to the butterfly for the carburetor. It's got a ball and I guess a socket. So I'll slip that socket out of the ball from this carburetor. Because of that big plate that's holding the air filter box, it's a little bit difficult to get that screw loose, but you have to be patient and you'll be able to get it out. Now that I got the carburetor out, I'll go ahead and remove the fuel line, and I'll just have it supported higher than the fuel tank. That way fuel is not dripping out while I'm cleaning this carburetor out. Once that's removed, let's go ahead and get this carburetor all cleaned out. What you need is to get a container for your small parts. You want to remove the bottom cup and remove that float assembly. It's just a little pin that's holding it together. So you want to remove that float assembly and the little piston that's attached to that float assembly, and get yourself one of those bag ties and strip the insulation off. And once you strip the insulation off, you have a thin enough wire that you can start to run through all of the openings and the holes. You want to get yourself some carburetor cleaner, and you want to get yourself a plastic brush to brush the parts and flush the holes out of the carburetor. So let's get this going. You want to make sure that you're wearing goggles when you're playing around with these fluid, because the fluid shoots out and it could go straight into your eyes and you can have some severe eye damage. I was not wearing goggles here, that was my mistake. However, you have to learn from your mistake or someone else's mistake. As you're spraying, you want to get your plastic brush and start brushing all around wherever you see buildup and debris and gummy stuff. You want to brush all that stuff out. If you have a rubber O-ring, you want to make sure you secure that O-ring and not let the carburetor fluid get on it, because it could warp it, damage it, stretch it, cause it to be dry rot. So make sure you're protecting any O-rings like that bottom cup. The carburetor cup has an O-ring and you want to make sure you remove it and set it aside. Thoroughly examine the carburetor for any little small minute hole, because all these holes fuel are passing through, and the only way to get them cleaned out is running that thin wire through the holes and spraying it out just to loosen all the gummy gunk and get it all cleaned out. So pay attention to all the holes. When you're satisfied that the carburetor is completely clean, you can just go ahead and make sure you brush the cup out itself. And once you brush it out, you can start with the reassembly back of the carburetor. So what I'm going to do is clean that cup out now, and I'm going to start putting this carburetor back together. Make sure you don't lose any of your parts, because if you lose your parts, it's hard to find and come by. So all your pins and piston that's in the float assembly, you want to make sure you keep it secure. That's why I have that bowl and I put everything in the bowl. Now I'm going to proceed to reassemble back this carburetor, put everything back in place, put that little pin back in to hold that float assembly, and once that's done, I'm going to screw the nut back to hold the cup in place. When you tighten that nut, you don't want to over tight it, because you don't want to strip the threads on the carburetor, because you will need a new carburetor. So make sure everything is functioning properly. The butterflies are opening and they're closing. Nothing is jammed, wedged, or stuck. And then you can go ahead and start trying to put this assembly back on the engine itself. So make sure you thoroughly check every part on the carburetor before you return back to the engine to install it. Once you return back to the engine to install it, all you have to do is reverse the entire process. If you're one of those persons that have a habit of losing screws, stuff like that, you want to get yourself a Ziploc and put the screws in, or as you're removing the screws and bolts, put it in a bowl, a container, and then you have it right there for reassembly.